Hey everybody, I wanted to do a quick tutorial here for you on USA Spending. So this is one of the easiest websites that you can use for government contractors, and it will help show you who's buying what you sell, who the vendors are, that sort of thing. Again, it's super easy. There's a lot of information on the main website. Again, it's just USASpending.gov. They have their data lab and different fiscal data, a lot of different stuff. I don't even use any of that stuff. And you can see there's a lot of information on their main website. But what I primarily use is I will go under the award search and do advanced search. And when I get in here, typically I'm going to use a keyword or a NAICS code, so you can type in a keyword if you want. I will typically do like the last couple of fiscal years, not all of them, but let's say we're just going to do those 5 there that are in here. And you can do all kinds of different things in here for searching. You can look at award type, different types of award types. When it comes to the agency, if you just wanted to put in a certain agency, you could put that in. And as you put it in, sometimes it will fill it in for you. Here, if I could spell right, Department of the Army, you could search on just that. So if you want to just look at certain agencies, that sort of thing, you can do that. I'm not going to fill that in on this one. If you knew the Treasury account symbols, most people don't know any of this information. If you know the location, so let's say you only want to search in certain locations for place of performance or recipient location. So this is one. So let's say you only work in the state of Missouri, or you only work in Missouri and Illinois. This would be a great filter that you could put in here for location. On the recipient, let's say you wanted to look up a competitor or teaming partner, you could put their name in here and you could look up information on just them. So that's a really good field to use. I use that a lot when I bring on a new client to just kind of look up what information's in here. Recipient type, you've got a lot of the different statuses and things that are in here. Some of these have drop downs and you can see other stuff, so you can check all of it or just specific ones. Award amount, so is it under certain thresholds, that sort of thing. That's a really good one as well. So if you just wanted to look for contracts under $1 million, if you happen to have the award ID, you could look for that. There's other different program things that you can look for, a handful of different ones. I'm going to go in NAICS code, and I'm going to put a really popular NAICS code in here and then check that one. If you had PSC codes, you could look different type of set-asides. You could put that in here. And then there's other different things. So is it competed under SAP? What else? Is it full and open? That sort of thing. How is it done? And then you just hit search. And once you hit search, remember, I just put fiscal years and I put a specific NAICS code. That's all I searched on. And you'll see all these different things in here. Now, initially, you're like, hey, this data is not too usable in this table form. What I typically do is switch over to categories. And when I do that, it gives you a really easy reading here of who the top agencies are that are buying this stuff. And look, you see Department of Defense, HHS, all that kind of stuff. If you want to look at sub-agencies, you could click on that. So under Department of Defense, U.S. Air Force is number 1, followed by the Army. You can hover over it and see how much money is actually being spent in there. It's a lot of money over the last 5 years in that particular one. And so you can look at all that information there. And then let's say you're like, hey, in addition to this, let me look at the vendors. So you just click on here and you click on recipient, and now you're looking at the vendor list. So it's that easy in order to use this thing. So I'm 4 minutes into this tutorial, and already I've looked up a NAICS code the last 5 years. I've looked at recipients, who the top buyers are. And let's say that I want to change this a little bit. I want to look at only recipients that are minority-owned businesses, veteran-owned businesses, that sort of thing. I submit that search, or clear it and do it over again. I submit that search, and now it's automatically filtered the recipient list based on what I just changed it to. So this is one of the things I like about it. I can just check or uncheck something, come down here, submit search, and it's refiltered the list again for me. And so it's going to do that for you through this whole time. And I can say, look, okay, well, based on these two statuses that I picked in here, the minority-owned business and women-owned business, let me change this back and see if the awarding agencies are still the same. Yep, still DOD. And Air Force is still number one. And I'm sure some of these changed. I didn't pay enough attention to it to notice what the changes were be. Obviously, the amount of obligation is drastically different because I've changed some of the restrictions here. And I could say, look, I really want to zero in on, you know what? I think I'm going to zero in on this one. And I just want to see, what that difference looks like. So yeah, I can drill in and look at that. Or I can say, look, I wonder if maybe are the last 3 years like this as well? Submit the search. Scroll back up. It's drastically different, but it's probably half of that in the last 3 years. So there you go. And this is one of those things where it's like, look, let me specifically look at this. So in DoD, $679 million that went for woman-owned businesses. I'm going to uncheck that. I'm going to click veteran-owned. I'm going to resubmit it. And what was it? $679 million. Now let's look at this. $731 million to veteran-owned. So you're able to see very quickly at the click of a button, veteran-owned versus WSB, how much is being spent on that. And again, we can drill down in the sub-agencies. But this is the one thing I like about this. You can very quickly look at this, change the awarding agency, the recipient. You've got all this information right at your fingertips. And then guess what? If it's like this, where you can say, hey, I want to look at this one. I like the name Oddball Inc., right? And they've got 69 million over the last couple of years. I click on Oddball Inc., and guess what it takes me to? It takes me to their profile. So now I can actually dig deep into their profile. Here's the recipient number. Here's the DUNS number, which, we're not using that anymore. I guess maybe that's why it says legacy DUNS number. Recipient, this is the SAM UEI in here. So now I've got the SAM UEI, got their address, got their business type, all their statuses, things like that. I've got their transactions over time, their top 5 their awarding agencies. So this is where the money is being spent, sub-agencies, if there's any other programs, things like that. I've got all this information, their product service codes, all that stuff is right there for me to take a look at because I've got their whole profile at my fingertips like that. And so I really like using this for that when I'm doing competitive research, when I'm doing research on a new client, when I'm trying to find out if there is money for a client in the government, because not everybody buys, or not everything that you sell the government's going to buy. So I can do all of that research very, very quickly in USA Spending. And what did you notice? I never had to log in. I didn't have to do two-factor authentication that we have to do with SAM.gov. I was able to refresh the report without saving the report and rerunning the report. It was really at a click of, or an unclick, if you will, an uncheck, check or an uncheck of boxes. I was able to rerun the report right here in real time. And I love that about this. And so if I wanted to add keywords in here, I think this is computer programming. So maybe I put cyber in here. Let's see if that changes any of this right here. So remember, this is 731 million veteran. And I want to do, resubmit it and then go back to the top. It changed it drastically. So cyber, under that NAICS code, it dropped it to 16 million, but it changed who the awarding agency was. So you can filter not only by NAICS code, but by keywords. So let's say that you're doing something within computer programming that's very, very specific. You can now put those two filters in, and you can actually see how that changes the search. So it works really, really well, and I highly encourage you to use this system. I really love this one. Play around with some of the other stuff. You can look at prime and sub awards. There's not always sub awards in here, which is kind of nice. But, the prime contracts versus sub award contracts. You can look at the map and see where these things are in the country. That's kind of cool. There's all kind of different things you can do. I encourage you to play around with it. At the end of the day here, when you're doing your search, this row here is what you've searched on. Those are all the active filters for a specific search. So you're like, why is it showing this? Well, look at your active filters. I'm showing this professional scientific services as well as cyber. Maybe I just need to get rid of cyber, and I can resubmit the search from right there. And now I've got the previous search back up, and I can take a look at that. So super easy to use. I don't think I need to do a longer tutorial on this. If you have questions about it, you know how to reach me. But I highly, highly recommend this tool as a basically as kind of like a companion tool to SAM.gov, because I'll pull a SAM report and then I'll go in, or I'll usually pull this first, then I'll pull a SAM report, and I'll kind of bounce the two off of each other when I'm doing research for a client. So again, if you have any questions about this, let me know, but I think this is a really simple tool to use, and it's awesome whether you are brand new to government contracting or whether you've been in the business for 50 years. You can get a lot of value out of this tool. So thanks for watching the video. And again, if you have any questions, you know how to reach me, and we'll see you next time.